The Xbox Store sales that have been going on over the past week have been pretty incredible. That's due to them having a ton of games at the lowest prices that we've ever seen. This is all in part due to that fantastic Chinese New Year sale, and I have even more games I wanted to highlight in today's video. This includes some huge AAA titles that only released within the past year that you need to pick up as soon as possible. Before we do dive in though, I do give away a free Xbox game every single week on these sales videos. All you have to do is just comment below and you're going to be automatically entered. I want to give a big congratulations to last week's winner. Just hit me up over on our Discord server with the link below and I'll get that game right over to you. With that though, let's just dive into the huge sales you need to take advantage of this week, as there's some cracking deals that are available to us right now. First up, we have a pretty popular management game which is coming to us from Sega, and this was essentially a reskin of 2 Point Hospital but with a college instead of a medical theme. 2 Point Campus is just as fun as 2 Point Hospital in my opinion, but with an all new spin on humorous classes for your students to take instead of patients to save. The radio DJ and announcers all return with the same sort of style and a few new jokes. There's also some small quality of life changes, like being able to alter the building shapes a little. You can also decorate outside, not just inside, and it's even more laid back than 2 Point Hospital with a fairly fixed schedule of classes instead of emergency pacing like the hospital attempted. If you do compare the two, it's like two kinds of apple. It's not entirely a new kind of fruit, it's just got a different layer to it. I still say it's a very decent game. I know many out there can spend tens of hundreds of hours into these ones, and for £3.74 that is a bargain, especially with how much game you're really getting for your money here. Shadow Gambit, the Cursed Crew, is 75% off, now priced at just under £9, and that is a staggering discount for a game that is just over a year old at this point. It's not even a bad game, it's just really fun from what I've managed to play so far. It is a tactical stealth game though, and it brings together a crew of undead pirates, each with their own supernatural abilities. It is going to be set in a cursed archipelago, and the game lets you approach each mission with a variety of strategies using stealth, magic, and also combat. The game feels like a perfect blend of Desperados 3 and Dishonored, with a real focus on creativity and planning. Each of the crew members also has very unique abilities that you can use to execute intricate plans, making every mission feel fresh and utterly rewarding. The game has such a vibrant art style, engaging story full of pirate lore and cursed treasures, and it really does make it a must-have for fans of stealth tactics and strategy games, and for that price point you really can't go wrong. Now, Tchia is such a stunning game and one that heavily goes under the radar still to this day. I actually played this a couple of months ago when it was on Game Pass, and I was just hooked from the very start, especially with its fantastic and heartwarming narrative. The game though takes you on a journey to a world inspired by New Caledonia, where you will be playing as a young girl with an incredible ability to soul jump into animals and objects. This power essentially lets you experience the world in some fresh ways, so you can soul jump into a bird to soar through the skies, you can even soul jump into a fish and dive underwater, or if you want to, you can be a rock and just roll down a hill or launch yourself across the map. The tropical islands you will be exploring are very lush, colourful and full of life, from dense jungles to sparkling beaches. It's also got a lot of traditional music which you can play, lots of secrets to uncover, and just a world brimming with heartwarming charm. To be honest, Tchia is a fantastic indie, and for the low price this week, you need to add it to your Xbox game collection. I have mentioned this game in a previous sales video a couple weeks back now, but you need to take advantage of this sale as soon as possible, and that's for Black Myth WuKong. It finally arrived onto our Xbox consoles last August, but I know many of you were waiting for the right time to jump in, and that time might be now. The game has just received its best discount yet, dropping it to just £42, which is easily the lowest price I've ever seen for this one. If you've played it, this is an action RPG that's rooted in Chinese mythology, and visually it's just absolutely stunning. The boss designs, environments and overall presentation are on another level. Combat then takes inspiration from Souls-like style games, but it still feels more approachable and fluid, focusing on fast-paced action rather than punishing difficulty. It is still hugely praised across the board, and honestly, if you have been holding off, this is the perfect chance to finally experience it. I really doubt this will go on sale again very soon, so make sure to pick it up as soon as possible. Risk of Rain 2 was another game that I never really had high expectations to when jumping into it about a couple of years back now, but I was really hooked upon spending time with it. In that time, it's easily become one of my favourite roguelikes, and I really understand why it was so hyped by many within the gaming sphere. This one essentially drops you and up to 3 other friends in randomly generated arenas, and then you must fight off hordes of these alien sort of beings, and once you have defeated a certain amount of them, a portal opens and you can progress onwards. It is a fairly simple premise for sure, but the game can get incredibly complex with the amount of builds you can make, the tons of items that you can get given, and those lovely procedurally generated lands that you have to explore. It's always one indie that I will always heavily recommend, and for just under a £5, it's one that I know you will get hooked on, just don't let that art style put you off. Avalanche Studios did a great job of turning the wastelands of Mad Max into one of the most underrated open world sandboxes of its era, and the fact that this one goes down regularly to less than the price of a cup of coffee, it's utterly outstanding. In this one, you of course will play as Max, scavenging for resources, battling raiders, and then building that ultimate car, of course, the Magnum Opus. Vehicle combat really is the star of the show throughout the game though. There is everything from explosive chases, harpoons you can fire which will rip enemies apart, and then brutal melee fights when the action does spill onto the ground level. Funnily enough, this has the same sort of combat like we see in the Batman Arkham games, so you know it's bloody great right out the gates. Again, it is just £2.99 thanks to a massive 90% discount, and it's easily the best discount I've ever seen for it, and one you totally need to pick up as soon as possible. Dragon's Dogma 2 was one of the best RPGs of 2024, and it offered us an incredible open world adventure that blended deep combat alongside all of the dynamic AI companions and epic monster battles. What really set Dragon's Dogma 2 apart from other within the RPG space is its unique pawn system. It basically lets you recruit and customize AI controlled party members that then learn from your own actions. The combat is some of the best I've ever actually seen in any RPG today, with a lot of wakeful, impactful swordplay against giant beasts, and you can literally climb onto them sometimes during fights. If you love stuff like Elden Ring, I would even say The Witcher 3 or even Skyrim, the game will absolutely scratch that RPG itch, as it's kind of an amalgamation of all of them. It has a huge reactive world, some really deep class customization, and one of the most rewarding combat systems within the genre. And for me, Dragon's Dogma 2 was one of the most exciting RPGs I've played in years, and I'd probably even put it up next to Kingdom Come Deliverance. It is now down to its lowest price of just under 25 quid, and since it's rarely going on sale and doesn't seem to be dropping anytime soon under this price, it's definitely a great time to grab it if you want to dive into it. Few games out there will ever capture that fantasy of commanding armies like Shadow of War does. This one really built on the excellent Nemesis system from the first game, which means every orc you face within Middle-earth feels like a living rival. This system is still incredible. It really makes them remember battles, betrayals, and even failures, and it's just so unique. I'm really gutted that we'll never see this again. It really made Middle-earth feel alive in a way that most action games have never been able to match, and if you add to that a fantastically designed open world alongside some brutal combat, and you've really got a power trip worthy of Tolkien's universe. I am obviously a massive lover of all things Lord of the Rings. I've recently seen all of the films again, probably for the 4th time already this year, and there is a reason why I always 100% any Lord of the Rings game out there. Whereas Gollum was a complete dumpster fire, and I really wish I never played it, Shadow of War is one of the best games for Lord of the Rings fans. I just still wish we got a new Conquest game sometime down the line. Remember, this one is also leaving Xbox Game Pass towards the end of February, and you can grab it right now for a low price of just £6 to keep it in your library forever. Talking of games leaving Xbox Game Pass, Injustice 2 is also leaving on the very same day, but again, after doing a little bit of research for this video, the Legendary Edition is currently down in price by quite a staggering amount, and it's totally worth grabbing if you do get the chance. This one, of course, is a fantastic fighting game with excellent mechanics. The fighting style for all of the characters are so well fleshed out and very unique, while the graphics and the visual effects complement them excellently. The game doesn't look like it aged at all, which is definitely a big benefit, as it's a little old these days, but the addition of that excellent story that you don't normally expect from a fighting game was totally welcome. I won't lie, I'm really not the biggest fighting game fan myself, but this one was actually a pretty decent one to jump into, especially as a noob to the genre. To be honest, if you wanted to try a fighting game or have a decent fight with your friends, then £5 is a pretty low asking price. Talking of a pretty low asking price though, I can actually currently see that over 68% of you are currently not subscribed, and I would love for you to join our ever-growing Xbox community. This is now one of the largest Xbox dedicated channels here on YouTube, and I would love for you to join as I do upload Xbox news, reviews, updates, performance analysis, and so much more on a daily basis, and we have a lot of exclusive content coming, especially for your Xbox consoles. So if you do love your Xbox and you do want to stay up to date with everything Team Green, then do hit that button down below. Enough waffling from me though, let's just dive straight into the games that are still on sale for this week. This next game today isn't just another spin-off, and instead is one of the most underrated Witcher stories out on the market. Thronebreaker The Witcher's Tales actually combines narrative-driven RPG decision-making with card-based combat inspired by Gwent. You will play as Queen Maeve, leading her forces through political intrigue, betrayal, and war. The choices in this one feel very heavy, as they ultimately shape the fate of kingdoms and companions, while the writing is every bit as sharp as the main Witcher series. The card battles may sound a little bit niche, but they're very cleverly integrated, ensuring they feel like a natural extension of the world rather than a cheap gimmick. At just £4.40, thanks to a whopping 80% discount, you're getting a polished, story-rich adventure that many Witcher fans sadly overlooked. But this price is an essential pick, and one that I truly love my time with. Next up is an indie horror gem that I genuinely think deserves way more attention, and that's none other than Conscript. I know the art style will really put some people off at first glance, but trust me, this game is incredible once you do give it that chance. It is set during World War I, and instead of traditional combat, it leans really heavily into survival horror games. You'll be searching for your missing brother while navigating trenches, ruined villages, and then the disturbing environments filled with psychological terror. Your resources are also extremely limited, so every bullet and item matters. It really does capture that sort of emotion we feel with classic Resident Evil, especially with its fixed camera angles and tense exploration. But honestly, that World War I setting makes it feel completely fresh and new to the genre. It's currently 67% off at just £7.25, and honestly that's the best price we've seen yet, and horror fans definitely shouldn't miss this one. Now, we have a bit of a hidden gem that you've probably never even heard of, and that's Welcome to ParadiZe. It's basically a ridiculous zombie adventure that's set in what should have been a tropical paradise, but of course things have gone terribly wrong. The game plays from a top-down perspective, and it's all about mowing down hordes of zombies with simple, satisfying combat. It really doesn't try to overcomplicate things either, which honestly does work in its favour. There are some really fun survival mechanics here, like managing your hydration in the harsh heat while exploring, and it's not just a deep story-driven experience, but that's not kind of really the point to it. It's just one that's pure and chaotic fun, and one that you can really switch your mind off and play with ease. At £10.50 right now, it's a solid pickup if you want something easy to jump into, and it's a pretty solid indie that I never expected to have so much fun with. I'll be honest, this is one of the more interesting new sci-fi games that I've seen in a while, purely because it's not trying to be safe, and it really is the best spiritual successor to the early Dead Space games. Cronos The New Dawn leans heavily into that atmosphere, mystery, and that slight uncomfortable feeling of not fully understanding that world around you. The basic resources that you will encounter time and time again, such as bullets, are truly precious because they're so scarce, and it kind of reminds me of Resident Evil, but even scarier. You'll have a hard time deciding what to craft or even buy, and when to take on the horrid creatures that you'll ultimately come across. What really does stand out most though is the tone, which does stay consistent and unsettling throughout, and as someone who knows many people who love horror games, they say that this is probably one of the best on the market right now. At just £35, even with the discount, is still a pretty expensive title compared to others on this list today, but if you do enjoy slower, more thoughtful sci-fi adventures with strong world building, then this one is totally worth keeping on your radar. Seasons After Fall is a platformer and puzzle game with a stunning visual aesthetic, and I'm certain that 99.9% of you watching today have never even heard of this one before. In my opinion, it's a very original game when it comes to its puzzle-solving mechanics, which, as the name suggests, are based around the seasons. One of the most common complaints I saw over many reviews is that this game does feel repetitive and that you never know where to go. First of all, one of the game's main ideas is exploration, and whilst you do revisit areas, there are always new puzzles in them, making it feel very different every single time. The game does also give you hints about where to go, but I think the real problem is that sometimes it does leave you to think more for yourself, which can get a little frustrating if you're new to this puzzle genre. Overall, it's a very good platformer and also puzzle game, and I do recommend it if you want to have a good time, especially for less than the price of a cup of coffee. If you're instead looking for a very fast-paced FPS with some insane movement and cyberpunk visuals, then Ghostrunner needs to be placed firmly within your basket, or should I say shopping cart. If you're unfamiliar, this is a hardcore, fast-paced slasher packed with lightning-fast action set in a grim cyberpunk megastructure. You will have to climb Dogma Tower, which is humanity's last shelter after a world-ending cataclysm, and when you make your way up from the bottom to the top, you'll then confront the tyrannical Keymaster and take your revenge. Do be warned, it is a game all about reflexes, patterns, and timing, and it can be a very complex game, but sure, it's definitely rewarding when you go through it. Personally, I did suck a lot at it when I first dive into it, simply because my response time is definitely not as good as it used to be, but with a lot of persistence, I did actually get a ton better with this one. The game also does have some assisting options if you aren't great at stuff like this, but it's totally worth experiencing if you get a chance, and especially at 75% off, this is a definition of a real bargain. My own personal highlight from this entire sale has to be WuKong Fallen Feathers, especially since this is the first time it's ever been discounted, now sitting at 30% off. If you're a fan of Souls-likes, this is easily one of the strongest releases in recent years, and I'd honestly put it right alongside Lies of P in terms of its quality. The game takes you through the haunting lands of Shu, packed with incredible enemy designs, challenging bosses, and a real world that's dripping with atmosphere. It's definitely tough in places though, but that challenge makes every victory feel incredibly well earned. It's also launched to huge player numbers and earned fantastic reviews across the board. I genuinely cannot recommend this one enough, so if you've been thinking about picking it up, now's the perfect time. I've also left a link in the description description and the comments below on this one, so if you do want to check it out or just have some more details, then do make sure to check it out. Whilst here though, do make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and again, do subscribe as I'd love for you to join our ever-growing Xbox community. If you do want to check out some more amazing Xbox content here on the channel though, why don't you check out the video on screen now. I actually covered the massive update that happened to Xbox over the past week. Yes, they are removing a feature, and it's one feature you need to know about as soon as possible.